we'll shift gears a little bit and talk about scripts. So let's do a little go around, and I want to make sure that I am aware of the most important scripts that you would like to learn about today. I'm going to post a script book in the chat, which of all the script books that I have seen, this is one of my favorites. Okay, so it is now in the chat. So download that onto your device and you can reference and print it out later. We're going to be covering some of those concepts here today. So I'm going to just do a quick roundabout to find out what it is that you'd most like to learn about with respect to scripts today. And we'll kind of use that as a framework moving forward. Kara, you're up first.
I don't have one in particular necessarily. Maybe, oh gosh, I don't know. I didn't know what the framework was going to be today.
That's
so
okay.
I'm good for all of them, actually. I mean, I want to hear anything I can. So.
All right.
And I'm having internet trouble, so I'm trying to get online. Sorry.
No problem. Jeannie, what would you like to learn today?
I'm like Kara. I have none.
All right, Sarah.
I'm new. I haven't even gotten there yet. So I'm all for anything.
Sarah?
So as far as some scripts go, I think that I'm still working on my listing presentation stuff, but for me, it would be how to talk to a possible listing about pricing their home accurately, especially if they don't agree with a price that I've set. Okay. Or my suggestion on my price range and everything. So that would be a script that I'm interested in.
Perfect.
That's a good one.
Reason.
I have two scripts I would like to know. I would like to know how you go about turning a non-met, like a stranger lead, into a actual, like a FSBO or anything like that, into a possible actual lead. And then I would like to know how you do it with people who you know, like your best friend, you know, forever. Like, how do you get there? Kind of like the scripting you use to get those two kinds of listings.
So how to turn a not met into a met, and then how to turn a met into a client?
Sorry, I'm like, I didn't word that well. So say you have a non-met, like a FSBO or something like that. What would your scripting be so you don't sound super salesy? You know what I mean? For getting that listing, whether you're on the phone call with them or you just met them at a park or whatever. Basically, a person you never met. And then for people who you do know. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, maybe I'm not wording it well.
Okay, I think we'll cover a lot of that. If I'm not as thorough as you'd like me to be, just yell out with your additional questions, okay? Mahir, what about you? What would you like to learn today?
I would say door knocking to get a little bit more fine-tuned on than what I've been doing.
Okay, door knocking. And Melissa, do you have a script or multiple scripts that you'd like to learn about today?
I'm completely new to this, so I'm open to learning about all of them, but one that kind of sticks out is, I believe Raven was just talking about approaching strangers and friends in person, the best way to go about on doing that. I would like to know like how to go about on doing that same thing via social media.
Okay, great. All right, lots to cover today. Okay, let's start with social media, actually. Let me just give you a couple of thoughts on social media. The most important thing in social media is that you provide engagement. Okay? So, for example, there was a, let me see if I can, where would I find this? There was an image that one of our agents posted a couple of weeks ago, and it was something that was, I mean, so brilliant that I like had to look at it multiple times to make sure I saw it correctly because it was so awesome. Okay. It was something super simple, and it was basically an image that said, let me see if I can find it again. It was basically something that said, oh,
While you're looking, Bill, can I ask everyone if you're not speaking to close your mic because it has a lot of feedback in my ears? Sorry. Thank you.
all right. So this was something that was posted. I don't see it anymore, but it was like, you know, the emojis, and it was like one emoji and it was like saving up for a down payment. A different emoji that was like thinking about selling. The third emoji was like thinking about investing or something like that. And the fourth emoji was like, I have a real estate question or something like that. And they popped it out there on Facebook, and that created a bunch of interaction. What you don't want your social media profile to be is basically a commercial, because I don't really care about your new listing, quite honestly. Like, I don't really care if you just got paid. Like, if we just came from other jobs, like we didn't post on Facebook every other Friday when we got our paycheck and say, I got paid, right? Like, it's kind of like a weird thing that real estate agents do, right? They don't want to hear like that you're successful. They want to hear that there was something really cool that happened to this family. You see what I'm saying? So you shouldn't be the center of attention. You should be putting that on the family that you just helped buy or sell, right? So one of a good rule for that is they say that about 80% of your post should be personal, and about 20% of your post should be business related. And the business related post could be things like, you know, hey, here's a just had a you know, closing with this awesome lender or this awesome attorney, or I just met this wonderful, you know, small business owner. Here, this termite company came out really fast and did an inspection for me, right? You're supporting other people, right? You're contributing to other people, because the more you contribute to other people, it's basically just expanding your sales force. So instead of you waking up and you being the only person that gives a damn about whether Bill Linkwald sells any homes, it's me and all the other people out there in the universe who I care about their business that are going out of their way to help me. You follow what I'm saying? And the key is to create interaction. So what I always recommend is have a social media schedule that is going to be predictable, right? Commit to it and stick to the commitment. So for example, every Monday, is there something you do special every Monday? Is there something you do special every Tuesday, every Wednesday? We have an agent at our office named Laura Lerman. She's really good at this. And like every Monday, she'll post something. I don't know if the days are accurate. I'm just kind of giving you a summary basically, but every Monday she'll post like something inspirational. And every Tuesday she'll post, you know, like a testimonial or a story about how she helped the family accomplish their goal. And every Wednesday, maybe she'll post like a bad FMLS picture and say, you know, what do you think about this one? And it's got like, you know, green carpet and green toilet and green shower stall. And like, you know, it's just atrocious, right? And she'll get fun interaction. It's not about buy something with me or sell something for me. It's, hey, I do real estate. I help all different types of people do all different types of things, and I'm fun, right? So if you've got a real estate question or a real estate goal and you want to have fun together, we should work together, right? Don't be such a stiff, right? People don't like working with stiffs. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you should get to the point where your people expect the same, like they expect it. Like if Laura, like one time Laura told me she forgot to post her thing on Wednesday, and she got like 4 direct messages that are like, are you on the side of the road somewhere? Do I need to bail you out of jail somewhere? Like, what's going on? Is everything okay? Like they've come to expect a certain standard from her organization. And when they didn't get the standard, they were worried, right? So is anyone that engaged with you in your business? And how can you get that? How can you forge that relationship, right? Okay, so that's my piece on social media. So it also could be things like, I'm working with a sweet family that's moving from Houston. They're looking for a 3-bedroom home in Woodstock, with in a swim and tennis community. Who do you know? Who do you know that I should know? Right? That's showing that you're going kind of out of your way, if you will. You're taking some additional steps to help a family accomplish their goal. When they see you're willing to do that for one family, they assume that you would be willing to do it for you, right? Just another note on social media. This is not directed at anyone in particular, but every time we talk about social media, particularly with people that I don't spend a lot of time with, I want to make sure you hear this loudly and clearly. Your people will be looking you up. They will, okay? And if they see something that is objectionable, they may not want to work with you. So while I'm not telling you what to do or what to say, or I'm not telling you can't express your beliefs, but understand that your beliefs may come with consequences, okay? So let me give you an example. If you say you vote, most people aren't going to be offended at that. But if you say you voted for so-and-so, you just isolated half the world, right? If you got pictures of you, doing keg stands from college on your, Facebook page, it may turn off some buyers or some sellers. You see what I'm saying? So take a moment and clean everything up. You are a public figure now, whether you like it or not. You are a public figure. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. I'm used to kind of being a little like, a lot of y'all have spent a lot of time in training. This is a little bit of coaching. So it kind of feels like I'm like at you a little bit, but it's all designed to help you grow. Okay. All right. Next thing, let's talk about pricing strategies for a second. Okay. I never liked making decisions for my clients. Okay. I always liked sharing the data that I was using to make a decision with the person that was supposed to make the decision, and then ask for their honest feedback, right? So whenever we would price a home, and this is definitely true right now, is I could our team took a listing, our team started to speak to somebody. This is a crazy story. I helped this guy sell his house about 5 years ago. About a month ago, maybe a little bit more than a month ago, the buyer of that house, I did not represent the buyer, I represented the seller. The buyer of that house reached out to me and said, "We're moving, would you like to list the home?" And I got on the phone with him, I said, "I got to ask you, why'd you call me?" Right? He says, "I will tell you exactly why I called you. The way that house showed when we were a buyer, I just assumed that that owner, if they keep their house that way, they probably put their agent through the ringer before they chose you. And if you're the one that they chose, I'm going to choose you too." That's what they said to me, right? So when we first started talking to them, this is about a month ago, a little over a month ago, we told them that we thought we could sell the house for about $350. We're under contract now for $390. Okay, so the market is moving super fast. So we said, "Hey, it'll be about $350. Finish what you're doing to set everything up, and we'll look at the numbers one more time." We looked at the numbers, and we knew we could get more. You see what I'm saying? So you don't want an agent, or you don't want a client to pick you because of the number you say. You want a client to pick you because you're going to take care of them, because the number is not like pulled out of thin air. It's a joint decision. So I would go to a seller and say, "Okay, your home is going to be on this list. This is a list of all the homes that are roughly the same price, roughly the same size, roughly the same age, roughly the same school district, right? This is your competition. So, Mr. Seller, let's pretend like you're a buyer. Where does your home have to fit on this list with respect to price in order for you to want to even see it in the first place?" Right? So a good rule of thumb is if you take a seller and you ask them to think like a buyer, you generally will move the process forward. If you take a buyer and ask to make them think like a seller, you'll generally make progress too. It's like hey buyer, we got 40 offers on the property, and the buyer's like, well, I want $10,000 in closing costs paid, and I don't have any money, so I'm not going to give any earnest money, and we're going to close in 6 months, and it's contingent, and I want a home warranty. And you're thinking to yourself, is this guy like, does this guy, is hearing work? Like, this is not going anywhere, right? If you say, I got to ask you a question, Mr. Buyer. The seller has 40 offers, some of which are cash, no contingencies, no appraisal, blah, 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 blah. If you had an offer to sell the home with these terms, and then you got this offer with asking for all this stuff, what would you do? And they're like, I didn't think about it that way. So are you still interested in buying this home? Do you want a good chance of winning? Well, yeah. Okay, so you got to compete with this. So are you willing to compete with this? Right? Now, here's a laundry list of the ways that you can compete, right? Cash, right? Option money, more earnest money, less closing cost, quicker close, no contingency, no appraisal contingency, making up the appraisal gap, right? Right to request repairs, no due diligence, these kind of things. Are you interested in doing that? Because if you're not, they're going to choose this offer. See what I'm saying? So a good rule of thumb is make a buyer think like a seller, make a seller think like a buyer. Okay, so I would say, it sounds like you're probably working off a specific example, Sarah. So feel free to give me some context here. But if you're sitting down with a seller and they're proposing a price and you're showing them evidence that that's really not the appropriate price, walk me through that. Are they saying like, oh, I see that all these sales for 300, but I want 350? Is that what they're saying?
Well, I think that, and I was trying to do the CMA, and we're always told that buyers buyers get greedy. I mean, sorry, sellers get greedy, and they think their homes are, have gold shingles, platinum nails, and diamond floors, and that they always feel like it's worth more than it is. And so when I came up with a price range, their number was like, I mean, probably 20 to 30,000 higher than what I thought it should be priced at, given also what was available around them. So just trying to kind of show where I was coming from with my number versus what they were wanting. And ultimately, if they insist that I go with their number, kind of how would I say, okay, it's your home, and I will list it for $6 million if you want me to, but let's make a deal that we try your number out for, normally I would say a
3
month,
hours.
3 hours. And if it doesn't get any traffic, then we go with my number.
100%.
Okay.
But I would ask them, say, here's the list. So I'm going to send you the list. I'm going to pretend like you're my buyer. You asked me for homes that are similar to yours. I'm going to send you a list of what your competition is, active. I'm going to show you the winners, which are the pendings. And I'm going to show you the homes that have closed in the last, let's say, 3 months or so. Okay. And I want you to evaluate everything I sent you. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, because I want this to be a joint, by the way, this is the script. Okay. I want this to be a joint decision. I don't want you to just take my advice and blindly agree to it. And I don't want you to just name a number and it not be based in reality. So you're going to do some analysis. So am I. And we're going to put our heads together and we're going to talk about what we think we've learned. And there have been times where I looked at data like that and I said, I think, what do you think? And he says, I think 195. I'm like, I think we get 215. Let's go. Right. And there's other times where it's the opposite. And I say, well, I'm thinking 195. And he says, well, I think we can get 215. I say, oh, okay. So which home in particular are you looking at that's supporting that conclusion? Right. And maybe he's got some good points. Maybe I missed something. Right. So remember, it's only an opposition if you're thinking that you're on opposite sides, right? You're really on the same team. So any conflict of opinion is just something that you just need to share with one another so that you guys can make a better decision together, right?
Right.
So
So
it-
tell me how you came upon that number. That, okay,
Yeah,
I hear what you're
so-
saying.
so-
How did you come on that number?
Here's what's going to happen. We're going to put out our home and market it the way you want to market, or the way I want to market it, right? Then what's going to happen is it's going to appear on a, instant notification alert. It's going to appear on a list of homes that a buyer's agent sends to their buyer. And the buyer, who's going to know the market really well because they're on Zillow every day, is going to see the new home and is going to see the price, and subconsciously is going to say, reasonable, let's go see it. Or subconsciously, they're going to say, that guy's crazy, I don't want to see it, right? So you got to pass a sniff test first. It's got to be close, right? Then close is what gets them in the car to look at the property. Then when they see the property, then you got to impress them again. Now it's got to be the best house. Otherwise, they'll just go buy a different one, right? So you got to say to the buyer, or you got to say to the seller, look, the buyer is going to determine whether the price and the condition are in alignment before they decide to come and look at your home. But the buyer's going to look, and the buyer's agent and the appraiser is going to look at all the same data we're looking at. And if every sale has been at, 390 to 400, there's no evidence to say that anyone's willing to pay 450 for this home. So when I'm asked to defend your price, what should I share with them? What would you like me to share with them? Right? It's like saying, if I had a brand new $20 bill, just came from the bank, it's not crinkled, it's in perfect condition, and I try to sell it to you, Sarah, for $21, you gonna buy it? Why? It's brand new, it's never been touched.
Same price though.
Right. So you're not going to overspend for it because the market says it's worth, 20, and I'm trying to sell it for 21. So it doesn't matter how pretty it is. It's not worth 21. Now, if I offered it for 18, I'd have a line out the door, right?
Sure.
That's the way the market works. Okay. Now, here's another example with respect to pricing. And sometimes you got to tell these stories, right? Let's pretend, let's use you, Raven, since you were so kind to turn on your camera. Love it when people have their cameras on. Okay. Let's say I had a guitar, okay, and I wanted to sell you my guitar. And I looked up on Google and they say, hey, this guitar is worth 500 bucks. Okay. And thank you, Matt. If I'm willing to sell that guitar for $500 to Raven, I'd rather have the money than the guitar. So in my opinion, the guitar is worth less than $500. Raven would rather have she's the opposite. She'd rather have the guitar than the money. So she actually believes the opposite. She believes the guitar is worth more than $500. So just the fact that there's a transaction at all shows you that there's a difference of opinion of value. Okay. And you can use this type of dialogue when you're speaking to somebody that says, well, I want to be at 314, not 313. It's like, what are you talking about? We're in the range, right? We're in the range of what a buyer might be willing to pay if they're fully educated. You see what I'm saying? So we don't want to get too caught up in like, is it 345, 200 or 345, 300, right? In 10 years, it ain't gonna make a bit of difference anyway. Okay, so the rule of thumb here is have the buyer think like a seller and ask them to make the appropriate decision based on the other party, what they would do if they were the other party. And sometimes they have to hear it that way for it to really click that says, you know what? Maybe I don't understand why somebody would sell me a $400,000 house for $350, right? Sir, if every piece of data here supports that this home should sell for 400, why, help me understand why an educated consumer would be willing to sell it to you for 350. And they'll be like, yeah, it does sound a little silly, doesn't it? Like, yeah, it does.
Bill, would you take them with you to it? Like if there were other homes in the
Yes.
neighborhood that were for sale, would you bring them and say, let me show you what our competition is?
If necessary, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and also have the data ready to, most of my work was done in a different type of market, right? So these were markets where there was like over 2 years worth of inventory rather than 2 weeks of inventory, right? So it'd be like, hey, you think your home's worth 365? Come with me. Okay. Here, tour this home. What do you think about this? They're like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is so much better than my property. Well, would it surprise you to know that this thing's been on the market for 6 months at 350? Really? Yeah. And anyone that comes and looks at your property is going to come and see this one. So if you're not a better buy than this one, you ain't gonna sell. You'll just help the other person sell. So, Mr. Seller, I have a question for you. Would you be more interested in helping yourself sell the home or help your neighbor sell the home? Right? By the way, they're not asking you to be their friend. They got enough friends. They need an agent. They need somebody who's going to tell them the truth. You see what I'm saying? In a polite way. And they're going to be assertive when it's necessary. They're going to be, protective when necessary, right? They're going to guide their client through the realities of the marketplace. So my general response when I have somebody that's fighting me on the price is, hey, just show me where you're coming from. Let me show you where I'm coming from. You could show me where you're coming from. Let's talk about it, right? Nowadays, I wouldn't have dared to say this a few years ago, but I'd probably take the listing anyway. Hell, we don't know what'll happen. I might take a $400,000 house for $425, and before the weekend, it sells for $425, right? So I might have language in, like you were saying, Sarah, about, if after 2 weeks we don't have an offer, the price automatically gets dropped to this or something like that. Hey, what?
My phone's gonna die soon, so I just wanted to let you know.
Good to see you. You can hang out in here if you want.
Yeah, I'll be there in a second. Sorry.
That's okay. It's weird to see like the same person here and there. So you just gotta think the way they think. You gotta try to get them to defend their position. But remember, you're on the same team. You're on the same team. If somebody thinks the home is overpriced and they're nervous about buying it, let's not buy it. I don't want you to buy a home you don't want to buy, right? Because every time you're going to pull up to it, you're going to think about how much you hate me. That's not going to get me any referrals. I want you to pull up to the home and be like, oh my gosh, I remember that day that Bill gave me such good advice to cause me to win this home. I love this place, right? And they start thinking about me. And then the next thing they know, one of their friends is talking about real estate and they connect us, right? The goal is to build a relationship. Okay, speaking of which, this is Raven's question about non-Mets to Mets. Okay. By the way, I posted a script book. I'll post it one more time in the chat to make sure that everyone that came in right after sees it. This is a really good script book for basically every topic you can think of. Okay. Hang on.
Can you buy it on Amazon?
I'll sell it to you for some chips and salsa.
Deal.
Is that the one that's I've seen one and I've downloaded it on my computer. Is it one through Command or something like that?
No, this particular one, I just really like the way it's organized. There's a company called The Locker Room that we used to work with at Roswell, and he does a bunch of stuff online, and this is just his script book.
It's not showing up in the chat. Did you do it?
Hang on. Hang on, let me try this one more time. One of the most important things that you guys can do is you got to make sure that you know what your people want. You got to make sure that you understand very, very clearly each person's motivation. Okay, when you know somebody's motivation, all the scripts are very easy. If you don't know why somebody's willing to move, then you're not going to be able to move the process along, right? So a not met to a met, I think there's kind of three there's 3 scripts. We usually call that, I've called them the 3 asks, 3 asks. It's not letting me, post for some reason. So I posted it at the very beginning. Is there anybody that does not have it right now?
I didn't see it at the very beginning either.
Really?
Yeah, that's why, because I've been looking for it. I've got all the things that you typed from our last class,
Mhm.
but then I don't see anything else.
I don't
All
see
right.
it either.
It's showing up in mine twice.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, no.
Okay.
That's so weird. Why I wouldn't see it.
Okay.
Bill, do you want me to put my email into the chat so you can just email it?
So it's Kira Scott and KW. What's the other address?
Sarah Bullard at kw.com.
Can you add Matt, please, Bill?
Sarah Bullard at KW.
Sarah with an H.
Yep, got it.
Yeah.
And Matthew Nodder at KW. Okay, so scripts. Okay, there's another script, group of scripts that I like. It's actually very simple. We call it the 3 ask scripts. This is from a guy named David Huffaker, who runs a mega team out of like a little south of Nashville. And the 3 ask scripts are applicable for lots and lots of different capacities. Many of which we've chatted about here. One is door knocking. Another one is basically just a complete cold call, like a straight up circle prospecting cold call. And these scripts can also be really well used in a public setting, like at an open house or at a party or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me share my screen with you real fast. This is the group of questions. And I want you to memorize these questions so good that I could wake you up in the middle of the night and you'll be saying them to me, okay? They're that important, okay? Number 1, have you or your family thought about making a move recently? And I'll give you some context here in just a second. Number 2, do you happen to know any neighbors or someone from church or work that we could be helping with their real estate needs? Number 3, when you think of real estate, who do you trust? By the way, that means not saying, do you have a realtor? Because then they'll just say yes, and basically everything that comes after that feels awkward, okay? So instead say, when it comes to real estate, who do you trust? Or you might say, hey, what's the name of your real estate agent? Or who is your real estate agent? Then they're like, which means they don't have one, right? Or they're like, oh gosh, what was her name? Hey, baby, what was the name of that real estate agent? You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have one. It's not a good relationship, okay? And it's probably not a good relationship because number 1, there wasn't enough value delivered. And number 2, there was lousy communication after the half-assed value was delivered. You see what I'm saying? Got to realize, you guys, if you like do what you say you're going to do and return phone calls and you're like halfway organized, you will absolutely clobber this business. Okay. There's a lot of really bad real estate agents out there. Okay. Really bad. Okay. The third question, when you think of real estate, who do you trust? I wanted to know if I might have the right to earn that responsibility. Right? Would it be okay if I stayed in touch with you periodically, just to let you know what's going on in the neighborhood or in the market? And if you need anything, I'd be here for you. Okay, so let's use that in the course of a circle prospecting call. Okay, circle prospecting, by the way, is, let's say I have an open house and I want to invite the neighbors to the open house. Right? So there's data sources out there. Cole Resource Realty is one. In PC, we have free access to that. So you can invite the 1,500 people that live closest to that address, or search by a particular neighborhood of the names and numbers of the people that live there. So you can call up and say, hey, Matt, this is Bill Linkwald with Keller Williams in Roswell. You probably saw my sign. We listed the Joneses house on Tuesday. we're going to be doing an open house on Sunday from 2 to 4. And from 1 to 2, we're just having the private showings for the neighbors. So I just wanted to ask, I made a commitment. This is the script, right? I made a commitment to my seller that I'd reach out to some of the local homeowners to invite them to the open house. So I just wanted to let you know it was going to be happening. You might see a lot of cars in the neighborhood. Didn't want you to think anything was going on, right? We're just hosting an open house. I wanted to give you an opportunity to come. Are you available? Right?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. Well, while I got you on the phone, Matt, there's some really cool technology that my company Keller Williams has developed, where you can search for property by neighborhoods rather than just by school districts or zip codes. Pretty new technology. Could I send you a link for my mobile app and you just, test it out? Let me know what you think. Give me some
Sure.
feedback. Would that be okay?
Happy to check it out.
Awesome. So I'll need your email address. Would that be okay?
Yes, that's great.
Okay. So if you're missing some information, like if you have the cell, but you don't have the email, then send them whatever you're trying to send them by email, right? If you have the email, but not the cell, say, I'd like to text you something. What's your cell phone number, right? You already know where they live because it's sitting right there on the sheet of paper. So make a little highlight that says, ooh, I talked to Matt Nodder at 123 Hill Street. So at the end of the day, I need to write that dude a handwritten note, right? That says, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate you sharing that story with me. Make it personal. I'd love to be a resource for real estate information for you in the future. Should you have any questions, I hope you'll reach out to me. Look forward to chatting with you again soon. Sign your name, no business card, put it in there. Business card, I go back and forth. Actually, I'm going to say put a business card in that. If you're sending like a, happy Thanksgiving and you already have a relationship with them, leave the business card out. If it's somebody you just formed the relationship with, stick it in there, okay? Because you had a business conversation, you need a business follow-up, okay? Make sense? If you wish them happy Thanksgiving, that's a personal connection, so you don't want to mix business and personal. Follow? Okay, so let's pretend, Matt, you say, well, I ain't got time for an open house, so I'm gonna be out of town. Say, hey, I appreciate you taking a moment to think about that. I'm working with we're probably gonna get a lot of calls on this particular property, and I'm working with some other buyers, nearby. Don't lie. If it's true, say it's true. If not, say something different, right? I wanted to know, I'm also spending some time reaching out to homeowners locally for some buyers that want to move into the area. And I just had to ask, we can't find any more listings. When was the last time your family thought about moving? Right? Well, we're never going to move. We love it here. Great. So do you happen to know any neighbors or friends or anyone from church or work that's talked about moving that we could possibly help? Right? I don't care if it's in the area or not. Now I'm on a lead generation mission. See what I'm saying? And then they say, oh, no, I don't have any friends. Say, great. Well, when it comes to real estate, who is it that you trust? Well, Bill, come to think of it, I don't trust anyone when it comes to real estate. Wonderful. I wanted to know, what would you like me to do so that I can earn that responsibility, right? Earn that responsibility. That sounds legitimate, doesn't it? Right? That sounds like a big deal, right? Well, it is a big deal. This is probably the biggest thing these people own, right? So don't they want a trusted advisor that's going to help them protect it and inform them about whatever they need information about, right? By the way, Matt, I might be able to, if you're happy where you are, I'm sure there'll come a time where you need a roofer or a painter or electrician or a plumber or whatever. We have a great vendor list. If you'd like me to share that with you, or if you ever have something you have a question about, I hope you'll reach out. Would that be okay?
Absolutely, yes.
Awesome, awesome. Do you have any questions right now while I got you?
Not off the top of my head, I don't.
Great. So I'll put you on the list of people to call when this home sells, just to give you an update on what it's sold for, because oftentimes it's probably going to sell for more than you would have imagined, and that might cause you to have a need to refinance or change your mind on when and if you decide to sell in the future. Would that be okay?
Sounds good. Yes.
Great. Have an awesome day, Matt.
Thank you.
Have a good trip. Right. So number one, you got to know, what can you offer these people? Okay. You can offer people a vendor list. You can answer any questions that you have about the real estate market. You can help them, introduce them to any home related vendor. You can introduce them to a mortgage specialist, right? I've said a million times, like, look, if you own a home right now, you should be doing one of two things. You should either sell it or you should refinance it, right? If you don't like it, now's the time to sell. If you do like it, now's the time to buy it again, right? If you've got an interest rate above 4, you better be refinancing. Now, if you help somebody refinance their home, do you get paid?
Nope.
That's right. But what do you get?
Their trust.
That's right. And they're saving money. And every time they write a check for $2,000 instead of 2,300, they're thinking about you, right? And you just supported the lender's business. Make sense?
Yep.
You're bringing value. If our goal to be a real estate agent is to save people's money and to help them build wealth, isn't that doing that? Right? So we're accomplishing our job by helping people save money, right? We can also send a neighborhood nurture. So, hey, we got this great new piece of technology. You can click on this live link, and at any time, you can see all the properties in your area that are active on the market or under contract or have just sold. Would that be helpful for you? Right? We can send it to you once a month, right? Great. All right. Let me make sure to have all of your proper contact information, name, email address, birth weight, blood type, just kidding. But this is an opportunity for you to get a bunch of information about them and learn something about them personal that separates you from that other realtor that's got that they're on their, email list or whatever, right? If I find out, like the woman that was on here a few minutes ago, Wesleyan, I said something about Auburn, and it, like, the whole class stopped for 2 minutes while she started chanting stuff about Auburn, right? I'm not making fun of her. She's probably going to watch this video, but you see what I'm saying? If I went to Auburn or my mother went to Auburn or something like that, we have an instant connection. You see what I'm saying? She's not going to be interviewing anyone else. She's going to work with me, right? Because we're having fun together talking about Auburn. You see what I'm saying? Okay. People buy why you do what you do. They don't buy what you do. Y'all do the same thing. Okay. Why would I choose you, Matt, over Chantrell? Right? It's because I bonded with you, or you were the first person that I met, or you made me feel good, right? So what can you do to create an awesome experience for your people that they wouldn't dare go talk to anyone else before they met with you, right? These people wouldn't make a real estate decision. I used to have a flooring guy. He was my flooring guy until he became not my flooring guy, because he had a, how do I want to say this? He had a moment of brief insanity when he decided to hit on one of my clients, and then he became not my flooring guy.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, you'll hear it all. You'll hear it all, right? And he used to say to everyone that he came into the house, he's doing flooring jobs, tile and hardwoods and decorative cement and all this kind of stuff. He'd say, hey, what are we doing this project for, right? Are you thinking about moving? And tell me a little bit more, right? Asking good questions, get the information you need. And then in any time that he noticed that there was an opening where he could support me, he would look him right in the face. And I seriously tell you that he did this exactly this way. He looked at me and said, Matt, this is a big decision. Do not make any real estate decisions without talking to my friend Bill first. You clear? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, no. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. Okay. There's a lot of crappy agents out there. You need to speak to Bill before you make any decisions. You see what I'm saying? Now that's a hell of a referral. Giving somebody my business card and say, hey, here's my buddy Bill, he's a realtor. Here, take his card. I have never gotten a referral that way in 16 years. Okay. Never. That doesn't work, right? You need their information, right? So if you're going door to door and you hand them a business card and you don't get any of their information, and you expect them to have a need in the future and be able to find your card and remember who the hell you are, ain't gonna happen. You need their information. And the only way you're gonna get their information is if you trade it for something, right? Which is some type of piece of value, right? I'll give you a link to look at what your home's worth if you give me your email address, right? I will give you the name of my painter if you give me your cell phone number. You see what I'm saying? So then the question you should be asking yourself is, what value do I bring to the table that's attractive enough for somebody to barter the information I want with it? Make sense?
Yep.
Is this helpful, guys? I know we're kind of like a little kind of philosophical here, but it's really important that you think about the business this way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So at the door, or when you're cold calling somebody about an open house or just listed, hey, we just listed the Notter's house at 123 Hill Street. It's a 4-bedroom home for $375. I made a commitment to Mr. and Mrs. Notter that I would reach out to a lot of the neighbors. And so I'm calling you for that reason. Do you happen to know anyone that's moving to the area? No? Okay, great. Well, I got you on the phone, gosh, there's hardly any properties available right now. And we've got buyers that are just aching to get into your area. When was the last time you were somebody from your family that was thinking about moving? No, you love your house? Okay, great. Let me ask you, any neighbors or friends from church or work that you've chatted with recently that have mentioned a real estate goal? No. Okay, well, one last question before I let you go. When it comes to real estate, Mr. Smith, who is it that you trust? Right? It's just coming right out. These things can happen in the middle of the grocery store line. Okay? Knocking on a door. There's door knocking scripts too. Hey, I'm in your area today. I made a commitment to my seller. I would love that line. I made a commitment to my buyer. I made a commitment to my seller. Do you think people like working with people who are comfortable making commitments?
Yeah.
You're speaking directly to their subconscious. Okay.
Hey, Bill, when
Yes,
I've said that before, when it comes to real estate, who do you trust? Honestly, the most common answer I get is, well, I've seen a lot of Sotheby's signs in my area recently, or I've seen a lot of, EXP in or whatever real estate happens to be, because they seem to cluster, because one listing leads to another. So that's really what I hear. So I'm always wondering what my response would be when they say, I've seen a lot of Sotheby's signs around lately.
great. So, so you don't have a particular agent that you trust for your real estate questions and needs. Is that right? Right. Or
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
sound
have
like
a particular one.
or it doesn't sound like you have a committed relationship. So I assume when it's time to make a real estate decision in the future, you'll be interviewing multiple agents. Is that right? Well,
Yeah. I don't really have a name, just a brand. They only see the brand.
gotcha. So I'd
Mhm.
like to share my information with you. I'd like to get your information if possible. I've got, do you have any questions now? Tell me a little bit about some goals that you might have coming up so I can try to help you, get you the information that you'd like, right? Because if they only know the brand or they don't have a relationship with an agent, the door is wide open. I mean, the NAR statistics, this will blow you guys away if you have not heard this. Approximately 70%, it's like 72% for sellers. Approximately 70% of consumers will work with the first agent they meet with, meaning they will only interview one agent and they will agree to work with that agent, and that's that. Literally, they're spending more time deciding at McDonald's if they want a number one or a number two, and who is going to guide them through the largest real estate transaction of their life. I know it's mind-blowing, but it's the same stat year after year after year. Okay, so if you're the first one in the door and you don't completely botch it, you have a really good chance of getting that piece of business. Okay. Secondly, when they ask when they ask consumers that just got done buying or selling, right? Would you work with your agent again? 72% said I would definitely work with the agent again. And another, I think it was like 19 or 18% said I would most likely use that same agent again. When they asked those people, did you use the agent that you had previously worked with? Do you know what percentage said they did?
20.
9. So if you lined up 100 consumers who all claim to have a relationship with an agent, only 9% are going to use that agent in the next transaction.
That's crazy.
So unless you are an agent, you're going to my database, even if you're married to one, right? But I saw a meme the other day. I'm totally going to botch this delivery. It was something like, I liked the house, but my husband didn't like the house or something. It's like, well, husbands are easier to find than houses these days, so you may as well just pick the house. Thanks for laughing, guys. I know it's mediocre.
Laugh. Did you hear me?
No, I did. I was being for real.
Sorry, I was
Okay.
muted.
Right. So I lost my train of thought.
That's what you get for trying to be funny.
Yeah, that's what I get for trying to be funny. Exactly. If I guess the takeaway message here is you got to have enough to share in order to forge these relationships. Okay. If you're making a cold call, these are some great questions to ask. These are also great questions to ask if you're door knocking. Door knocking is essentially an in-person cold call, right? Hey, I'm Bill. That's my sign over there. I'm listed the Smith's house earlier this week. Wanted to invite you to an open house. I told the Smiths I'd come by and meet all the neighbors and invite them to the open house. So I'm here today. Do you happen to know anybody that's moving to the area or wants some help with their real estate needs? Right. By the way, before I let you go, when it comes to real estate, who do you trust? And that's like over and over and over and over all day long. Right. Another really good script, I know we're kind of winding down here. Another really good script is, great. Sounds like we should meet. Right. It's like, I got a question. Great. Sounds like we should meet. I don't have a question. Great. Sounds like we should meet. I want to move. Great. Sounds like we should meet. And you need to say that line like 10 times a day. Awesome. Sounds like we should meet. Right? Remember, a lot of people want to feel good and be right. Okay? The main thing you can do is focus on getting in front of them. Don't fight them on the phone before you book the appointment. You know, don't try to fight them on price or commission or any of that stuff. Say, oh, great question. A lot of people ask that. I'll be happy to explain all that when we sit down together. Right? I'll totally be prepared to talk about that when we meet. What time's better, 2 or 3? Right? Our job, here's what we do, guys. We identify problems, then we solve them. We identify problems, then we solve them. And we move the process further and further towards the closing table. We're basically really well-paid concierge.
Yes.
Okay? You will find yourself doing things that have nothing to do with real estate. But remember that our goal is to help people. I mean, I think my goal is to help people build wealth through real estate, right? 3/4 of our country's wealth is tied up in real estate. Did you guys know that? 3/4 of the wealth of Americans are tied up in real estate. You are the middleman for all of that, right? Now, remember, when somebody buys a piece of property, this is particularly important for first-time people, first-time buyers. I'm going to make some generalizations here, but oftentimes that's the first kind of adult thing they've done, right? So they may not have a will. They may not have life insurance. They may not have a financial planner. They may not have a CPA. They may not, have a, disability insurance or some of these things that I'll just go out and say, responsible adults particularly with people that depend on them should have, right? So would it be out of line to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, congratulations. One of the benefits to having worked with my team is I introduced you to a couple of other professionals that serve kind of ancillary roles for people that just bought homes. So, here's the guy's number for life insurance. I don't make any money if you buy or don't buy, but it's something you probably want to look into. You're an adult now, right? So if you've got a bunch of these kind of ancillary providers that you support their businesses, they ought to support yours, right? Don't underestimate the importance of building relationships with vendors. That is a big, big deal.
Vendors will give you referrals also.
Some will. I have supported several lenders in the past. I love Kathy. Please don't read through the lines here. We've worked together. She did my personal loan. But I want to work with lenders that are going to support my business. They're going to throw me a bone every once in a while. And she has, by the way, right? But I've also supported other lenders that I've given them 20, 30, 40 deals and they haven't sent me a thing. Well, at some point I'm going to stop because I've been putting their kids in private school, but they haven't even bought me lunch. You see what I'm saying?
That's a good one. Yes. Maybe you can talk about next time scripts with vendors, like
Yeah.
ways
So,
to
hey,
do that.
how's business? Right? How's business? How's COVID impacted your business? Right? Is there anything I can do for you? Hey, I'm on the phone all day with buyers looking for sellers and sellers looking for buyers. There's a very good chance that I'm going to be speaking to one of your ideal clients today. How would I recognize that? Who is your ideal client? Should I be listening for something important that they would say that would indicate that that would be somebody you'd like an introduction to? Does that sound like a good referral partner?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Yeah.
somebody says, hey, I'm thinking about splitting up with my wife. Okay, well, that's a little different, but that's when you could say, hey, well, do you need somebody to speak to about that? Like, counselor or a CPA or divorce attorney or whatever. Like, I've got a list of a bunch of people that could potentially help. Is there anything I can help you with? Right? I don't make any money from that. Make sense? The last thing I want to say is turning the not met into the met and turning the met into a client. It all comes down to figuring out what their motivation is, right? So there's lots of scripts to the effect of like, hey, Matt, this is Bill Linkwald with Keller Williams. You have a second for a quick business call. I wanted to let you know that this is if you have rapport and if they like you and trust you and you've poured enough into them to ask for business, right? You gotta make deposits before you can make withdrawals. If you went to college with somebody 15 years ago and haven't spoken to them since, don't expect a referral if you call and say, hey, who do you know that wants to buy or sell real estate? I'm in a contest. That's going nowhere. You need to pour into them a little bit first. And then if you ask them enough about their world, their family, their goals, their vacations, how COVID's affected them, whether the kids are virtual learning or not, right? What work is like for them, then they'll inevitably ask you what work is like for you. And you'll say, oh, I just launched a real estate business, helping a lot of buyers and sellers and having a lot of fun. Don't say you're busy, because then they'll be like, oh, well, you're probably too busy for me. Then you won't get the business. Say, hey, I'm having a lot of fun. Ooh, fun. I like having fun. I'll buy something, right? So what was I saying there? So if I wanted to let you know, I've got a goal this year to help 15 families buy and sell homes. And what the statistics say is that each person knows between 6 and 7 people that are going to be moving each year. And while I'd like an introduction, referral, by the way, is kind of an internal term. Using the word referral to the public, it doesn't resonate with them. Use the word like introduction. I'd love for you to introduce me to one of them. Do you think you can introduce me to one person that's thinking about making a move this year? Oh yeah, Bill, for you, anything. Awesome. I got to tell you, that would mean the world to me. Is there anything I can do to help you right now? Right? Then you've built this little mini sales force out there, people that are running around trying to help you grow your business. This business is a lot easier to deal with when you got multiple salespeople. When you're the only one that cares, you're the only one that cares. Make sense? And by the way, don't think that your best friends are going to refer business to you. I love you, Mom. In almost 16 years, I've gotten one referral from my mother, and that person wanted to pay me 1%. Okay, so just because you're friends with them doesn't mean they're going to support your business. Okay, so teach your people how to make the introductions. Okay, now when you ask, how do you turn a not met into a met? Well, it kind of depends on if you ask them enough questions about what's going on in their world. They'll ask you enough about your world and you'll say, yeah, I'm a real estate agent. I help buyers buy and sellers sell and, families build wealth. Why do you ask? Do you have any real estate questions? What part of town do you live in? How long have you lived there? What do you love most about it? If you were to move somewhere, where do you think it would be? When would that be? Right? Notice how I'm not reading that stuff off of some sheet of paper. It's because I've said it like 4 trillion times. You see what I'm saying? So read through the script book and make sure you are familiar with kind of the typical questions, right? See what I'm saying? As far as a MET into a client, you have to identify a pain point, right? Hey, moving is hard. We've all moved, right? We've moved from one spot to another. Isn't moving a kind of a pain in the ass? Okay, so there's going to have to be a pretty big reward in order to want to move, right? So what are we going to get by moving? So you want to move to Chicago? Wonderful. Tell me more about that. What's important? Give me 1 second. What's important to you about moving to Chicago? Oh, my grandkids are in Chicago and I really don't want to miss any more of their school plays and yada, yada, yada. Oh, I understand how important that is, sir. That'll be one of my chief focuses when we're working together, right? And then when we get an offer and we're bickering over a home warranty or something stupid, I say, isn't it time to get to Chicago to be with your grandkids? They're like, yes, it is. Where do I sign? You see what I'm saying? And when they're fighting you over the price, it's like, so you got an offer, you're like, I don't want to sell it for less than 500. So what you're telling me, I think what I'm hearing is that it's more important for you to get $500,000 for the home than to watch your kids' school plays in Chicago. Am I hearing that correctly? And they're like, you're good, aren't you? Yep. Sign here, please. Quit messing around. See what I'm saying? They're not looking for a friend. They're looking for somebody to do the job. Okay. They want the job done. They don't want to be your friend. And quite frankly, I got enough friends. Okay. I just want to get the job done. They're hiring me to get the job done. Let's get it done. Let's move on. Doesn't mean I'm not friendly and fun to be around and make people laugh or whatever, but I got a lot of things to do, and so should you. Right? Was this helpful?
It is.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Definitely.
thank you.
I've got to run now. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome. Anything you guys need, you let me know. As always, I appreciate you being here. And take a close look at the script book. If you, if you have a desire for a role play partner or any of that kind of thing, you can put it in the Roswell Rocks group or let me know. I can try to introduce you to somebody. This office is full of a bunch of leaders, guys, that want to help you be successful. So if you're struggling with something, please raise your hand, okay?
Thank you.
There's no
Thank
shame
you.
in asking for help. I appreciate your time today.
Thank
Thank
you.